What's on the table, what's not, and what's it going to look like in terms of taxes for you. But first, issue one. There's a battle brewing on the mountain. We kind of speculated before the holidays that Scott Duval or Terry Whitehead might jump at the seat that was surprisingly opened when MP Chris Charlton decided she was going to retire from federal politics. What we didn't expect, at least I didn't expect, Loren, was the battle that would start, the battle of words right out of the gate. So first, your reaction to hearing that Scott Duval is going for it, and then I'll show you some of the response there's been on social media.
Sure. I think Scott Duval is a solid councillor, really good guy, and not surprising at all that he will be seeking the nomination for the NDP. And I think that's a very important difference. He is seeking the nomination. Everybody is screaming for him to resign and this and that. It's many steps away from that, and most importantly, he is following the rules by which exist for the job that he has. Every time that there's a provincial or federal election and somebody jumps or attempts to jump from council, we have this discussion. And if this is so outrageous and terrible, we need to change the rules. Not complain about it, because Scott is doing nothing wrong.
Well, it's interesting because Scott said when this first came up that there was an issue around optics. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, that's not that he's not going for it. He's just going to try to figure out how to spin it. So he tried to spin it, and it didn't work because, in a surprise move, I think, Chris Charlton went to Twitter to say what she thought about the move because she's backing somebody else for the job. So let's have a look at what Chris said. Good on Sam Marula for living up to his municipal election commitment, Councillor Duval, to make federal election announcements. So kind of a backhanded, smack at Duval, saying that he didn't live up to his commitments. And what Sam Marula has to do with this, I'm not sure, Loren.
So there was some speculation that Sam was interested in looking at things as well.
But how could he go up on the mountain? I mean,
anybody can go anywhere.
Yeah, I know, but
that doesn't much matter. I think it's a little inappropriate that Chris is weighing in this way.
Yeah.
If she remains a member of the Hamilton Mountain NDP, she gets her vote like anybody else. But I think there's another important factor that we need to remind our viewers of. Scott Duval did not run for council with this seat being open. He ran, he won, and Chris Charlton surprised everyone, even NDP insiders, by announcing that she won't be seeking this again.
But Chris has made the point that he knew there's a federal election scheduled for this year anyway. So if he had federal ambitions, why run for a council seat in November?
But had Chris not resigned, he wouldn't be sniffing at anything.
Well, that's true. He'd have to run up against her.
And that would never happen.
Well, and we'll talk more about Chris's motivation on this, but let's get some of the response out there because the announcement hit quickly, and here's some of the feedback we've had from our viewers, both on Twitter and Facebook. Chris Charlton, that's exactly it. It's a commitment to people when you run and attain office. So there's somebody siding with her statement on Twitter that a municipal politician shouldn't jump. And I mean, this is soon, really. It's only a couple months. Council's barely started. And here's one on Facebook. He is my councillor. This is so wrong. He knew prior, so why did he run? If he wants to run, he should step down, especially this close to being voted in.
But Bill Irvine is wrong. He did not know prior because Chris was going to be the MP as much as everyone thought, or at least seek to be the MP.
And I get that point, but there is a really close timing thing on this. There hasn't been another politician that's tried to make this leap so soon. I mean, literally, what has the new council even done? At one meeting, two meetings?
The election is in October, and a politician doesn't have to, until the writ is dropped is when it has to begin. Plus, he's not even a candidate yet. He is seeking the nomination of the NDP to be able to try to be the MP. You're a couple hurdles away.
So is this Chris Charlton being territorial about the seat she fought so hard to get and now is relinquishing, and she had somebody else in mind to take the seat and she's afraid Duval is going to, swamp it and take it?
Well, Adam Zick is a Chris Charlton supporter. That's no secret. And who knows, there might even be other people seeking that seat as well. There's lots of support for Scott Duval, lots of support among elected officials in the NDP party. And if everyone is so incensed by this, including politicians, soon to be former politicians, let's change the Ontario Municipal Act.
He knew coming out of the gate, he said in the fall, that the optics would be difficult, and they are, and he's decided to go for it. But of course, there's a lot more money at the federal level. This is kind of like a giant leap promotion in terms of money and benefits and everything else. And if you manage to stick around long enough there, you get pension for life. It's a pretty sweet gig. So I don't fault him for wanting it. There is, though, that window. It's a pretty tight one to be going into the race. But as you said, he didn't know that she was going to give up the seat. Still, you know, he does have to answer to people who voted for him and to the other candidates who ran against him and lost, and here he is. But let me just say what his response was to Chris Charlton's comments. As I read it in The Spectator this morning, he said he was surprised by her words and that he'd certainly be having a talk with her. So, you know, I bet he was pretty shocked that she would go on Twitter, of all places. If you want to blow something up, of course, go to the Twitter sphere. So it looks like internecine warfare happening within the NDP. Is that good for them, period?
Well, I think that's the key here as well, that we're all assuming that Scott is going to get the nomination and that Scott is going to win the election. And if the people of Hamilton Mountain, and mostly that of Ward 7, are so incensed by this, they don't have to vote for him. But we'll see. I'm not sure that the Conservatives or the Liberals will be able to match with a candidate with such name recognition, and furthermore, with he's a super good guy. He wins overwhelmingly up on Ward 7, not just based on name recognition. And we have a long history of our council, and the NDP has a long history of having trustees who become councillors.
Oh, Horvath
who then
is
become
a prime example.
That's what they do.
For sure. It's how they progress up in their field. It's just the timing on this that's particularly problematic. And don't forget, I think Team Trudeau is going to be like a giant magnet for talent. I think people are going to try to get on what they'll perceive as a wave that might come through. And everyone, not everyone, most people in politics are a little bit opportunistic. Okay, issue number 2. Bill Cosby, should he be playing in Hamilton Place this week? What a huge story. We're talking